Good Monday morning. It is a great day to be a Longhorns fan, y'all.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. But the good thing is it might be a good day to be a Longhorns fan. It's not a good day to be a Cowboys fan nor a Sooner fan, but it's a holiday for a lot of people, Columbus Day. So the Longhorn fans don't get to go brag as much about it, and I like it.
Well, I do because I don't get today off, so I am going into work.
Well, congratulations, but I'm so
Thank
glad I
you.
mentally prepared myself. Um, it didn't sting as bad. I'm pretty realistic when it comes to the stuff. I was kind of hoping they would pull a little more weight on the field, but they just could not.
I will let you know, I was real worried that first quarter. For whatever reason,
They
Quinn
were off
Ewers
both sides.
Quinn Ewers was not our quarterback. I was like, put Arch in. I was telling my mom, I was like, this is a bad idea. Why would you put him in? Why? Like, this is horrible. They couldn't even get a first down.
They didn't get a first down in the
No,
first period,
first
and that's
quarter.
what was funny
I was
because I
like,
was like, they were both off. So I was really kind of happy that it was like, okay, we're probably going to get beat, but but once they kicked it in gear, let's just be real.
yeah.
Once they all got on the same page, I
Hmm.
knew that was a wrap. But again, I'm a realist. As much as I love football, much as I'm competitive and love to win, I knew going in, so it didn't sting as bad.
I will let you know. So I took a nap because I had errands to run in the morning and then got home about 12:30, got lunch with my mom, took a nap for about 30 minutes, and all of a sudden my mom comes and knocks on my door really loudly. Get up, game's on. I was like, okay. Like half asleep. So I watched the first quarter and then I had to go to work. So literally, as soon as I left and I was maybe 5 minutes from the house, my mom goes, they scored a touchdown. I said, all right, well, evidently I just needed to not be watching.
Oh, how funny. Yeah, it was good. It was man, but you can see you were watching it, the
Mhm.
electricity that is in that
Yeah,
stadium, split down the
it's
middle,
crazy.
crimson and red, and that burnt orange with old Bevo there. But
Uh,
it's
I
just
love Vivo.
but it was a good game, and but I was already tired by that time too when the game came on because I had done a couple of things that morning,
Hmm.
and then after that I was just like, okay, I need a nap. This is just it is what it is. So, but it was a
Yeah,
good college
it was a good
weekend. There
game.
were some upsets. Obviously my Sooners are not even in the top 25, which is horrible, but this is why I am so excited about the game this coming weekend.
Yes.
Because it is going to be in Austin, Texas.
Whoop
College
whoop.
Game Day is traveling. Dez and Lee Corso and all the people.
Hmm.
Um, but
Yeah, we're playing Georgia, and I think
yeah,
they're.
but the Longhorns are number one right now, and
Hmm.
they are facing number five, Georgia. And you have no idea how bad I want Georgia to just come in and
And just stomp us.
yeah, and I don't even want to see like a lopsided game. Those are no fun. They really are.
Yeah. No, they're
But
not.
I want it
You
to
just
be
want to
where
see. You just want to see
it's
us lose.
yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
over the over the AP report, so we got number one, Texas, we got Oregon, we got Penn State, we got Ohio State, number five, rounding out Georgia, number six, Miami, number seven, Alabama, number eight, LSU, number nine is Iowa State. Number 10 is Clemson. Number 11, the Vols. I'm still a little bitter about them from earlier this season. Number 12, Notre Dame. Number 13 is BYU. Number 14, which is cool, A&M. 15 is Boise State. 16 is Indiana. 17 is Kansas State, 18 is Ole Miss, 19 is Missouri, and 20 is Pittsburgh.
So I wanted to put a pin in this. You said A&M, so Aggies. First of all, they're playing each other for the first time in like ever, UT and A&M, because
Yes.
we're now both SEC schools, which
Yes.
is crazy. So tickets are going like the nosebleed up in the stands, can't see because it looks like little ants, over $900. Close-ups, over 2 grand.
How do we get a gig in there? What do we need to do to get in the stadium? Take pictures, social media, TikTok. I mean,
It's
run around.
crazy. Like it is gonna be such a bit. First of all, well, of course, because it's gonna be like a who
Uh,
gets the bragging rights Texas.
oh yeah.
Even though there's a whole bunch of other Texas schools that have football teams, it's
Oh
Aggies and
yeah, but
Longhorns.
that's always been a really big game. But so
Yeah.
what's funny is I wish there was a spot um i- at Cal Berkeley when College Game Day was there recently. They talked about a hill that overlooks the stadium, and it's called
Hmm.
Tightwad Hill. And that's where all the kids, all the college kids that can't afford or don't get a ticket to get in,
That's
they
gonna be everybody.
they could go up on this hill and overlook it. And it was, you'll have to look it up. It's very interesting, but it was super cool view. And I was like, you know what? That would have been so me in college if I would have
Oh
done that.
yeah. Oh,
I would have been
100%.
up there. Yeah, you're not within the
Yeah.
stadium, so you kind of get your own kind of party up there on
Yeah,
the
it's like
hill.
tailgating.
Yes. So it's called Tight Wad Hill. It was so cool.
But
So,
yeah, so that me and my mom were talking about that this weekend. I was like, that's so, first of all, those tickets are insane. But that's so cool that we're back to playing them again. Because that's such a big like rivalry just in the state of Texas, I feel
yep.
like. Like you're
Yep.
either a
That's the
Longhorn
Texas
family or
one.
you're an Aggie family.
And I have to go with, I always say, I go with Aggies because they're the right colors, wrong letters. My, that is my Texas, uh, that is my justification for going for the Aggies. They are the right colors, wrong letters. That's it.
Well, I really can't talk that much because I went to an A&M school.
I was gonna say, girlfriend.
Listen, I would have gone to UT if it wasn't so dang expensive.
Well, there
And
you go.
I would have gone to UTSA if it wasn't also so dang expensive. So
Okay, so
my heart's in the right place.
what's up with your hockey?
Ugh.
The floor is yours.
We have our games. Games one, two, and three, I think have all been played for the good majority of the teams. And I will get into that in a minute because my Stars have played their first game and their home opener, which is really exciting. But I did want to talk about real quick. Amazon Prime has acquired rights to the NHL's new broadcast titled Prime Monday Night Hockey, which
Okay.
is it just reminds me of football because that's a thing, right? It's like Sunday night
Right.
football, like Prime. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
So I think it's essentially the same thing. So it's the league's first exclusive national broadcast package with a digital only streaming service in Canada. So it's not US based just yet, but it's
Yeah.
in Canada. So the shows will be broadcasted from the home team's arena, which kicked off T Day today, um, with the
D-Day. D-Day.
Today with the Montreal Canadiens hosting the Pittsburgh Penguins at the Ball Center, which tonight will have U.S. sports announcer John Forsland doing the play-by-play. But this is a new venture for Amazon and could definitely set the stage for a major shakeup in broadcasting rights when Rogers Communications current 12-year deal with the NHL expires for the 2025-2026 season, after the 2025-2026 season. Um,
Isn't it? Isn't it? We always use the word crazy, and it's not even crazy. It is mind blowing to me the amount of money and marketing and media that
Mm-hmm.
teams want and need, and that we as a society, I
Oh
love
yeah.
it. Me personally, I love it. Anything I see Cowboys, anything I see Sooners, or any college football team really on a Texas. I mean, I'll be honest,
Yeah.
it kind of makes me want to throw up in my mouth a little bit, especially now for a year. I'll have that bad taste in my mouth. So it's okay. I'm not bitter. I'm not bitter. But I mean, I just love how sports brings people together. And so
Oh
they're
yeah.
finding ways to
To keep it
make it more
going.
accessible and get it to people.
Yeah, and so Amazon acquired the rights to broadcast all national regular season Monday night games, for the next 2 seasons through a deal with Rogers. Um, so it's definitely gonna be interesting to see after the 2025-2026 season ends, are they going to go into it and go all out, and they will be the broadcasting host, which I don't know how I feel about that because that means a whole nother streaming service that I'm gonna have to pay for to watch these games. So I don't know how I feel about that.
They're
But
first world problems, my friend. First
literally,
world problems.
literally. But Amazon does hope to hook fans with the top shelf broadcast because they've gotten brand new cameras. They're using about 30 HD cameras per episode that film in high dynamic range at 60 frames per second. So it's going to be pretty to watch.
Well, let me tell you, yeah, and talking about like how the episodes and the filming and all of that.
Hmm.
Yeah, Saturday when I was watching the Texas OU game,
Hmm.
when I was with nothing but Longhorn fans, which is okay because just like I'm a rebel when it comes to Droid versus iPhone, I'm a rebel when it comes to the big rivalry. But
Yeah.
I say that because when I was looking at the TV a few times, I even made the comment that, oh my gosh, it looks like an EA Sports college game on like those Nintendo, not Nintendo,
Hmm.
PlayStations or whatever.
Yeah.
And they said, the gentleman, he said, hey, it's because the high resolution they focus in and
Hmm.
then they kind of blur it out. But it really
Yeah.
does. Like I was freaking out. I was like, oh my gosh, it'd be players and you could see them, they're real. And then the next minute,
It messes with your eyes a little bit.
yeah, it messes with your brain. So like these 30 cameras and the angles and the high
Hmm.
definition and all of that, that's what creates all of that.
Yeah,
And
which but it's still gonna be so cool because even like now, even watching like some of ESPN's broadcasts on Hulu and ESPN Plus and all that, like I don't get the best quality sometimes. And it's really frustrating because first of all, that puck on a screen is literally the size of a nickel.
oh wow.
So
Wow.
like you're having to like try to figure out like
Where is it
where
at?
is it? And I listen to the broadcast more than I actually watch it because I hear them and I'm like, okay, like what's going on? And they'll be like, oh, so and so's a puck. Da-da-da, da-da-da. I'm like, okay, like let me try to figure some that instead of trying to find the little puck.
That is hilarious.
So that's gonna be something to keep an eye on, but also Stars, my Dallas Stars, which you are going for just simply because they are from Dallas. Um,
Some of the best things are from Dallas. I'm just gonna say that. Not my Cowboys, though. I'm a little bitter about that one too. It was a 2-for-2 weekend, y'all. Good grief.
so they won their first game um earlier this week when they played Nashville Preds, where if you don't remember me mentioning it, the Stars traded their backup goalie Scott Wedgwood um to the Nashville Preds this offseason. So Scott Wedgwood was their opening goalie when they faced Dallas. So it was Scott and Jake versus each other, which is just really heartbreaking to begin with because the Dallas Stars, you can just see, love each other, and having to face Scott in that setting was probably not the easiest, but they came out with the win on top. And then they had their home opener Saturday night. So I had the Texas game Saturday afternoon and then
Oh,
the Stars game home opener Saturday night, where they did shut out the New York Islanders, which was always exciting. Uh,
yeah. Um, it's so funny because yeah, you're funny because you're like me when it comes to sports. You're just yours is hockey, mine was I was on information overload yesterday.
Hmm.
I was just like, oh. So,
But
okay, and
I think it's weird because like football happens like once a week. Hockey happens
I couldn't handle it more than that. Like my
literally
adrenaline and my
every day.
anxiety. Yeah, my anxiety would
Every
be.
day there's a game on. Thankfully, a good like
Yeah, but how many teams are there? 30,
two.
32.
And
Okay.
they play 82 games in a regular season. So like literally there are like some days that I'll have like I'll watch New Jersey Monday, Dallas Tuesday, New Jersey again Wednesday, Dallas Thursday, have a break Friday, watch another team. So it's crazy. But then one final thing to round out the hockey news. So everyone who hasn't paid attention, Hurricane Milton did hit Florida this past week.
So
Thankfully,
many people hurting. I don't mean to interrupt you, but so
yeah.
many people hurting.
No,
It's
yeah.
just people, it just stinks. And I don't know how else to put it. I get
Hmm.
really frustrated with anybody that politicizes a mother nature issue. I'm not talking about all
Yeah.
the backstory of all of that. I'm talking about the
Hmm.
mother. People are already just, it's just bad. It's just bad. It's
Yeah.
just, it makes me sad for those people because
Yeah.
they are stressed out and life as they know it's different. And we all know that because of Hurricane Harvey back
Yeah.
7 years ago,
Um,
8 years ago.
Thankfully though, like the damage and impact is not as bad as it was projected. There
Mhm.
were still lives lost and everything. But Tropicana Field lost its roof, which was a big thing because that's where a lot of like emergency workers and responders were there. Um, so there was like that was a whole thing for a bit. But in a combined effort with the city of Tampa Bay. The Tampa Bay Lightning, which is one of the hockey teams in Florida, in partnership with Ticketmaster, will discount tickets to the team's first three home games, as well as donating tickets to hundreds of first responders and other recovery workers and their families as part of the of a hashtag Tampa Bay Strong initiative to bring unity across the Bay Area, the Gulf Coast, and all those affected by Hurricanes Milton and Helene. Games included are Tuesday, October 14th versus Vancouver, Thursday, October 17th against Vegas, and Thursday, October 24th when they take on Minnesota. And so, as part of that initiative, the lower and club level tickets will be available starting at an all-in price of 75, with the upper starting at 25. In addition to that, the organization does plan to donate hundreds of tickets to local first responders, recovery personnel, and their families working to restore a sense of normalcy across the community. And then following Hurricane Helene, actually, owner and chairman Jeff Vinnick, along with the Lightning Foundation, pledged a $2 million effort to relief efforts with the entire Bolts roster visiting first responders across the Bay Area. And then the captain, Victor Hedman, also personally donated $150,000 to the Tampa Police Department and the Coast Guard Foundation. So if y'all are looking to support hurricane relief efforts, we do encourage, and they encourage people to donate at the www.tampabaylightning.com/donate.
And I love like 150,000. I love seeing that go towards good,
Yeah.
like go
And
towards
that's just him personally.
person. Yeah, I mean, I would love to be able to write a check to somebody for to disaster. I mean, I think any of
Hmm.
us would. I would
Yeah.
think any of us would. Um, but I think it's. I love I hate the tragedies that bring people together like this,
Hmm.
but I love to see the
The people
stories
coming together.
that come together for that because
Yeah.
that says a lot about the community. It says a lot about the organizations.
Yeah.
And I still believe that we all have more similarities than we have differences, and people just want to help and they donating or
Yeah.
volunteering hours or these holidays
I
are going to be
I
hard for
heard.
folks. I don't care what happens on November 5th. I don't care what happens on November 5th. This year is going to be hard on folks at the holidays, so
Yeah.
it's just one of those things,
I
and
mean,
it
there was
is what it
people
is.
opening their homes all across like the East Coast to people trying to escape it. So
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
people who don't even know them.
Yeah. Well,
Um, go ahead.
no, I was just going to say we're going to keep them in our thoughts and prayers and just positive vibes. Make sure if you're listening and you donate to places, make sure that they're legit. Unfortunately, just as much good as there's in the world, there's double evil at times. And so I've heard some stories of people collecting and
It doesn't go anywhere but to their own pocket.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Um, so before we go to our guest for today, we're going to take a quick message from our sponsor. Want to know what's going on in Corpus Christi? Make sure you check out cceventscalendar.com. That holds all of the events going on for the entire month. New are added daily. And again, that is cceventscalendar.com. All right, so for today's special guest, we have Michelle Watson, who is the heart behind the 111 Project, a cause she founded in loving memory of her son, whose life was tragically taken by fentanyl. Inspired by her own profound loss, Michelle has turned her grief into a mission to educate and raise awareness about fentanyl, not only in the United States, but also in Kenya, with hopes to spread her message worldwide. Alongside her advocacy, Michelle excels as a contact center manager for one of the nation's top apartment owners, where her leadership ensures exceptional service and seamless operations. Her diverse career and heartfelt oh my goodness, I can't say the word. Philanthropy
philanthropy.
reflect her passion for making a meaningful difference in the world, both near and far. So welcome, Michelle.
Hi, girls. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, Michelle, I have, for those that don't know, I've known Michelle for well over 20 years. We're family. That's what we'll
Mhm.
leave it at that. We are fam. We will always be fam. And so I have seen Michelle through these struggles, persevere, and I wanted to bring her on because this is something in our mental health that we need to talk about, that it needs to be out there because this is a very real struggle in our youth, in our society. So Michelle, the floor is yours. I'm thankful that you are here with us to be able to share your word.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I was so happy to talk to you the other day. I'm like, we share memes and we talk all the time, but we really hadn't had like a phone good sister conversation, and we did, and I loved it. So
That's
thank you
awesome.
for, yeah, thank you so much. I didn't even know, I see all your posts, but I didn't realize that you were doing this podcast. So it's really, really cool. So as far as, mental health, I
Hmm.
think that my son, he was 20 years old. He struggled with trying to fit in, like a typical like 20-year-old, right?
Hmm.
Teenage up to 20, up to until he made it to 20. That's what he wanted to do. It was like he wanted to be this YouTube life. He wanted to fit in with everyone. He couldn't just be himself. And when he was himself, it was like he still struggled because he wanted to still be part of whatever it was that his friends were doing, and part of this in crowd. And so I think that he struggled really bad with just acceptance, and so started with weed, and then went on to Xanax, and then after Xanax they all started popping Percocets, which you hear now are like M30s,
Hmm.
and it killed him. And I think that so many young people do not understand that it can and will kill you. It's not something to play around with. It's not something to, you know, it's like, okay, fine. You want to smoke weed? Cool. Get it from a dispensary. Get it from a dispensary, because now in 2024, even the weed is laced with fentanyl.
Yeah.
And it's like not even something that like I I used to drink, used to party, used to hang out, and now it's like I'm so afraid for everybody. And the only reason I'm so afraid is because not only is it my own son, it's a mother calling me every other month, it seems like. You know, we started out with 6, Malachi and 5 others in this organization, and then it grew. Last year we had like 26. This year we have 44 just in the Midland Odessa area where I lived. In our Facebook group, we have over 2,500 people, and it's constantly growing. So it's just something that, I think that young people, more especially, I mean, adults too, it's, let's face it, we party as adults. We may go to a party as an adult and someone say, here, take this pill, or here, smoke this, or whatever, snort this. Like, it happens.
Yeah.
And people are dying every single day of the week. And so I think part of me was, after it happened to him, I was pissed.
Oh, I remember.
Once I pulled my, once I pulled my emotion out of it, I was angry.
Yeah.
Because I kept seeing more and more and more and more people dying. And I was like, okay, what do we have to do here? Like, what do we need to do? And, it's little old me, right? I can't change the world, but I'm like, you know what? We have to do something in our local area. And so we did. We started reaching out to different schools and doing different like community events. And I reached out to Big Lake, where I grew up. And I was like, hey, can we do a presentation at your school on fentanyl? And luckily, I know the superintendent, and he was like, sure, why not? Like, let's do it.
Good.
And it was crazy because when he called me back, and Melina, you haven't even heard this story, but when he called me back, he said, well, we have January 11th available, 1/11. And I was like, oh my God, okay. But then we get to the high school that day, and my Aunt Carmen works in the office. Mm-hmm. And so we walk in, all me and my whole little, friends, and I look on the digital clock, and it says 1/11. But I look at, and it gives me chills right now still. I look at my phone, and it's 12:48. And I'm like, I asked her, I said, did you do this? She goes, we didn't. And so it's like, I kind of knew then, like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Like, I don't know why that happened. I don't know why I know why 1/11, because my nanny, before she passed away, that's a little backstory on where 1/11 comes from. My grandmother, who raised me, she died January 2020, just months before him. And she used to always be like, guys, look at the clock. It's 1/11. She would do 1/11 and 11/11. So we would all just take screenshots and send them back and forth to each other. And then when he died, and I started researching what fentanyl even was, 1 pill kills every 11 minutes. And I was just like, oh, okay, this is it. Like, this is the name. This is what it's going to be. This is what we are going to do. Mm-hmm. And so from November 22, the end of November, is when I decided that it was the right thing. And then January 23 is when we started doing all of our presentations and everything. And now it's just grown. Sadly, it's grown because there are more families. So that's not always a good thing. But the beauty of it is we have each other. We have a network of moms that are here for one another. We try to have a grief class. We, we all have a group chats and group everything so we can be there for each other. And we host community presentations and events. We go to vendor events and community things that are always going on. We still do a ton of school presentations in the Midland Odessa area, Dallas area. Like she said, we went to Kenya in January. We're going back in January again. Super excited about that. Yes, super excited. We have friends over there that are just like, okay, girl, we're on board because we don't want our people dying. And when I got word that there was a potential fentanyl issue there, I was like, why not? Let's go do it. And so we did, and now it's a beautiful thing. Malachi talked about the two places he always talked about going to me was he said he wanted to go to Africa. And so when I went to Kenya, it was more of it was a very bittersweet experience because even though I didn't get to take him there, I got to take him there. And so it's rough some days, right? Because it's like, how do you try to talk about all the good about this kid because there's such a stigma around around fentanyl, right? Everybody's like, oh, it's your fault, you were a bad mom, or oh, they were drug addicts or whatever. And I think that's what
The
our
misconception.
mission is. Yes, I want people to know, like, we have people in our group who experimented one time. We have young people in our group who they were just smoking weed with their friends like normal. And what happened? They got a hold of fentanyl and they're dead. A girl gone at 15 years old. And so we really it's like we want for the message to be listen to the message. Look at what we're trying to tell you, because what we are trying to tell you is so, so, so important.
Right.
Our message is a little harsh because if you see, once you check out our website, you'll
What is
see,
your website, Michelle?
It's www dot the number 11project spelled out .org. So the 11project.org. And you'll see it's very in your face, right? There's
But we
testimony.
need that. You know what? We some people, and you'll know what I'm talking about because we go back far enough. A hard head makes a soft ass. I mean, it is what it is. Excuse my language. It
For
is
sure.
what it is. Respect. And people, it is not the days of the 60s. It is not the days of the 70s. It is lethal today. And that one chance that youngster, that college kid, that young parent that decides they're going to let loose, it could be the end of their life. And I know we haven't even touched on the family, your other children, your grandchild that he left behind, that you have now had to step in and be that influence on behalf of his father. I mean, so in your face is in your face with love. It's not in your face with disrespect or ill intent. It's this could happen.
Right. Yeah, and our posters, like you'll see on all of our presentations, everything, our graphic, they say fentanyl killed my son, my daughter, my mom, my dad, my whoever. And that's what it says on all of our posters that we set up. And when some of these, the crazy part is when we set up all these posters in the gymnasium or the auditorium or wherever we set them up, a lot of times we have young people who walk into that scene and they're sad because they say, oh my God, I knew him or I knew her. And that's where, to me, that's the most powerful statement, because that could be you.
Right.
Yeah.
That is what we are trying to teach you.
Right.
We're not trying to be like, oh, fentanyl every day, but we are.
Yeah.
Because of the fact that our kids are gone, our loved ones are gone, our brothers, our sisters are gone. And so we've tried to kind of lighten. We do a lot of mental health. When we went to, and I started this when we went to Kenya, because I'm looking out at all these little babies and they're just hugging on me and loving on me. And I'm like, I just want to take all these kids home. Can we just pop them on the plane with me and take them home? But the beauty of it was, even though some of them were in a terrible situation, I was able to speak life into them and tell them, you are beautiful, you are smart, you are handsome, you are strong, you are worthy of good things. And so we had all these young people recite these affirmations, and just the sound of that, it just did something to me. And so we added that to what we do, and it kind of stuck. So now everybody knows that when we finish our school presentations, we are telling these kids, I make them all stand up and I make them say, I am beautiful, I am handsome, I am smart, I am strong, I am worthy of great things, I will not do drugs. Like and it's weird because a lot of girls come up afterwards and they're just bawling, crying, and they say, thank you so much because I don't feel pretty. I don't feel smart. Some of the boys will come up and say, I've been struggling with XYZ, you know? And so that goes back to the mental health. I think parents don't realize just how hard our kids have it nowadays. We didn't have to deal with Snapchat and Instagram and Facebook and all the social media and all of this stuff to keep up with.
Yeah.
And that is where they are struggling.
Yeah, Mikayla has talked about this.
Yeah.
You can tell Mikayla's way younger than me. And so
I grew up in the era of social media when it was like becoming a thing of like, oh, look at me, look at this photo I posted, look how pretty this is, look where I am. So it was definitely a very big struggle in middle school and high school to like try to want to fit in, even in college. And so it's a huge impact on that.
Yeah. And that has a huge impact on mental health. And like you said, he was always looking to be accepted, even though he was a good kid. I mean, every young man has their struggle. Most, not every, but most young men have their struggles finding their way, especially when there's different factors involved and things like that. But he was a happy-go-lucky kid. He was always laughing and cutting up. And, you know, I remember, reading one of your things, and it said, my son didn't want to die. He didn't want to die. He was having fun with his friends. He did not know that was what was going to kill him. And I'll never forget when I read that you had posted, and I mean, it cut me, not only as a friend, but as a mom.
Yeah.
And so I've known you for so long that I've seen your struggles. So seeing you turn, number one, I remember when you lost your grandmother, aka your mom, and then months later is when this happened. And literally, I know that you had a circle of friends and family close and far praying for your heart. And so to see, and the healing, and that, because we knew some of your other personal struggles, so to see what you've done with this and grown it from a horrible tragic, you know, just unspeakable to your children, to the grandchild, to everybody, and turned it around to try to be good for others and give those kids and those parents the education that they need, and how important. And it's not, you know, we can get into all of the crisis at the border and all that. It's right here in the U.S. That is that is not a fair statement, because it's right here. It's being done here in the U.S. And actually, I believe, and I'm sure you can correct me, there's more fentanyl cases where they find that it was due to here than it was from over the border.
And even if they close down the borders, it's not gonna help the problem.
Right.
It's gonna alleviate it a little bit, but it's not gonna stop. It's just
education.
Not.
Yeah.
And I mean, you know, Malachi, he really, it's like, he was doing his thing, hanging out with his friends, got into this crap, started doing this. But then when Juju came along, his son's name is Julian, we call him Juju. When he found out that she was pregnant, then they kind of had little issues, as most 20-year-olds who are having a baby do. But when this kid, I'll never forget, he was 1, and there's a picture of him and Malachi that I have on my phone, and he's holding his face on the porch. He loved this kid, and he wanted to try to be better. He was working 2 jobs. He was trying. And then what happens? Him and her got into it. He went out with his friends, and he died. And this is what's happening to so many of our young people. We've got another 16-year-old, same situation. Got into it with his girlfriend, called up his friend, bring me some pills. Guess what? Those pills were laced. And these kids do not understand the mental You know, I tell parents nowadays, like, send your kids to therapy. I don't care how old they are, because even at elementary ages, they are dealing with things that
Yeah.
we don't know about. They're dealing with bullying. They're dealing with emotions. They're dealing with all these things, and we forget. Sometimes I'm like, we forget that we were kids when we have parent when we become parents. We forget that we were a kid at one time.
Right, right.
Like, we need to remember that they struggle too. They have issues that they need help with, and this is where, you know, the whole mental aspect of everything comes in. It's like, please get your kids to a counselor. And I am a firm believer in check your kid's phone, because if you see any changes with your kids,
Yeah.
little brothers, little sisters, even adults, check their phone, because guess what? If they are texting about all these different little pill emojis and all these little things, they're doing something.
Yeah.
And you could potentially save their life,
What,
because it's only a matter of time before they get something that's laced. And I think a lot of it too is a lot of these kids don't realize the severity of addiction.
right.
It's like that once they get started and they can't stop, then they don't know how to tell their parent. They don't
Right.
know how to say, now I'm addicted to this thing and I need help.
Right. Right. The power of shame that they feel like they will let their parents down.
Yeah.
But I can remember always telling my children, I'd rather be mad at you than planning your funeral.
Yep.
And as on more than one occasion, and by God's grace, I've been blessed enough not to have to experience that, but I've had a lot of friends that have had to experience the loss of a child, and the strength and the mental capacity that you have to have. I don't know how you do it, because I know that life has to go on. I get that, but the tragedy of that, and especially as a single mom, where you were trying to do everything right, where you were trying to, and again, you know, we haven't even expanded in the fact that the kids, that your other children, his siblings, and how they've done it, you know, dealt with it, and your mental health. We could talk about all of that. But the other thing I wanted to ask you is, what do you need as an organization? I want you to talk a little bit about what the funds do, how it helps, what you need. I can give you a couple more minutes, so that way people, if they want to get involved, if they have friends and family that have struggled, having a support system that somebody knows that has been through that. You know, I can be a friend to you, but there are things that you and I have gone through that are the similar, and then there are things that something like this that we haven't. So knowing that people have that option, they need that. So
we will pay for addiction or like rehab resources if we have funding. We've done it before for a young boy. We will pay for whatever we need to travel. We get asked to go to presentations now that we have, you know, recognition. We've been asked to go, you know, to the Dallas area, near the Houston area. Well, that's not cheap. It's not a cheap drive. Obviously, if we were to fly, there's cost, you know, for traveling. We buy print materials. We have, you know, we hand out Narcan and print materials. We buy wristbands for the kids. They have, I need to send you some too, by the way. They say you are worth it on the inside, but on the outside, it's just the 111 Project. It's got our contact information. So a lot of times, if these kids are struggling, guess what? They can look at that and they can have a place to go. We do provide a grief class once a month. We are trying really hard to, you know, to just expand and do more. Like I said, Africa's coming up. That's going to be in January. I've got a couple of months to get all the funding figured out for that. My plan this year, last year, it was kind of just meeting everyone and getting everyone, you know, together. The team over there has literally shown out. They have had an event every single month since January. They have so many people wanting to know, what is fentanyl about, what can it do. There are people that have come forth and said that they've lost someone. Yeah, they've lost someone to fentanyl, so they know now that it is in their area.
It's very real.
Yep. The Drug Enforcement Agency there is on our side. They're like, we want to partner. We're here for you guys. So that's amazing, right? But
just a little old girl from West Texas.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of you. That is so awesome.
Let's go across the world. We're going to do this, whatever we got to do.
That is so awesome.
I mean, you know, and this is a very vague statement, but we need money. That's just the reality of it, right? Everything costs money. It costs money to pay for these wristbands. It costs money to travel. It costs money to print. Like, we give out these print cards and wristbands literally at every single school presentation that we do. Sometimes upwards of 500, 600, 700, 800 kids, you know, depending on if we do the junior high or the high school.
So if you needed bracelets for 800 kids, what does that run you about?
Um, so we just ordered, the last order we made was we ordered 2,000 wristbands and it was like $1,200.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
And the only
you
reason I
know,
ask is so that people can kind of get an idea. I mean,
yes.
obviously, every dollar counts, everything they
Hmm.
can donate to your website, that contact you, all of that. But I want people to know that there are so many local nonprofits here in the
Hmm.
Coastal Bend, but there's also all over Texas and all over the US. And
Yeah.
fentanyl is a very real deal. It's a very real topic. And
Hmm.
it is not just in Texas, it's throughout the US. And
Yeah.
so, Mikayla, I don't know if you have any questions for Michelle. I would like to.
I don't, but you were talking about how like you're just this one person. It just takes a spark to start a flame.
And she has. I've watched it from day one, and we get along great because she's a little cray cray like I am when she has to be.
Sorry.
She doesn't like to pull the flag out, but when she does, so if there's
Gotta do
gonna
what you gotta
be
do sometimes.
I always say if I'm in an alley and there's a fight, I would want her on my side, not against me, because she's just as crazy as I am. So it would make it
They
easier.
say you gotta watch out for the quiet ones, right?
Exactly, exactly. But Michelle, I want to thank you so much. You know that I'm here supporting you, cheering you on. Like you said, we only talk through memes and all of the things, but you're doing big things, and it's inspiring to watch you manage what you do from afar. So
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I want to send you guys some t-shirts. I'll send you, that's another thing that we do. We have shirts for sale. So that's a way that we generate, money. So
mhm.
anybody who wants shirts, they can go check out our website. Instagram is the 111 dot project. TikTok is the 111 project. I try to do tons of like educational things and showing what we've done in the community, showing what this stuff is, because kids like loud music and they like
Hmm.
colors and they like all the, yeah, like,
Yep.
hey, and let's just face it, I'm cool. Look, I always tell my kids, I'm like, my grandkids don't call me G for no reason. Okay, I'm a cool
Jay,
granny.
you a J girl. You a J.
Yes,
You a J.
but we definitely, it's a situation that we try to make light of it as much as we can, but the message remains the same, that fentanyl kills. It will continue, and it takes people like you guys, people that want to talk about topics like this, who can share it with other people, because you never know, after you air this, you may have people in your community that come and say, hey, I've lost someone.
Yeah.
That's just how it works. We have a whole team of people in Midland, Odessa area. I would not know what to do without these moms. Like, they are my support system. They are my crew. They are like these moms. We show up at these events. We do these events. We love on these kids, and that's just what we're about. So we appreciate every single opportunity that we have to get our word out. So thank you guys so much for letting us come on, letting me
Thank
come on.
you.
Well,
Melina,
I
I
am
love
sending you
you.
hugs across
Yes.
the miles. So it was really
Yes.
good talking to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yes,
And
thank you. And you are doing an amazing job. And the
Thank you.
love that you have for your son is astounding.
Thank you.
all right, thank you,
He
my
always
friend.
said he wanted to be famous, and I'm like, well, it's not in that capacity, but guess what? You're never going to be forgotten.
Exactly.
And as you roll, All Eyes on Me by Tupac in the background for him, because I know
Right?
that's what he would like. He'd be like,
He would.
all right, much love.
I
Thank you
love you
so
too.
much.
Thank you.
All
Bye.
right, Amy. Are you looking to grow your business and increase your brand visibility? Become a sponsor with the Girl Talk Sports Talk podcast. Our sponsorship opportunities offer you a unique chance to connect with our dedicated fan base and community. Let us help you elevate your business name and reach new heights. Contact Melina or Mikayla today to learn more about how you can get involved and make a lasting impact. Join us and watch your business thrive.
Okay. Thank you again so much, Michelle, for coming on and speaking about that with us. All right. So hot topic.
Today, the hot topic, and it is a hot topic. Sometimes I like to communicate. So for me, it's not a real big hot topic. That's just me personally. But today is Columbus Day, obviously, right? And a lot of people don't even know why we celebrate Columbus Day and some of the history behind it, and kind of, and you're going to think, if you have Google, or Gmail what I'm about to say. So just for those that don't know it, that's listening for the first time, we're going to dive into the history of Columbus Day as we celebrate it and how different groups view this holiday today, whether you've grown up learning about about Columbus in school or heard debates on it around how do I can never
Indigenous?
Indigenous, yes, Indigenous Peoples Day, because there's a debate on it. And so first, let's start as to why Columbus Day exists. The holiday commemorates obviously the arrival of Christopher Columbus to the Americas, October 12th, 1492. He's often credited, obviously, with this quote, discovering America. And although that can be misleading to some, there were already millions of, say the word, Mikayla, because I can't say it.
Indigenous
people living here with cultures and societies. On top of that, European explorers like the Vikings had already reached the Americas centuries earlier. So Columbus's journey was significant because it opened the door for further exploration and European colonization, which eventually led to the creation of the US, right? So for many years, Columbus was seen as a hero and someone who expanded the world by connecting Europe to the Americas. That's why Columbus Day became a federal holiday in 1937, and why Italian Americans in particular celebrated Columbus as a way to honor their heritage. For Italian immigrants in the early 1900s who faced discrimination in the US, this was a source of pride. But here's where the irony comes in. While Columbus voyages are seen by some as the start of a new chapter in world history, they also mark the beginning of centuries of suffering for, say the word,
Indigenous
people. When Columbus, I'm going to point to you, when Columbus arrived, his expedition brought violence, slavery, and diseases that devastated native populations. Colonization led to the forced removal of
Indigenous
people from their land. This is teamwork, the destruction of their cultures, and the loss of countless lives. So while Columbus is celebrated for discovering America, the reality is that this arrival triggered events that had not so positive effects on people who had already lived here. So this is what's new to me. There's been a shift in how we view Columbus Day. So many people, especially
Indigenous
communities, see it as a reminder of colonization and the suffering their ancestors endured. In response, some states and cities have started celebrating
Indigenous Americas
Peoples Day instead of or alongside Columbus Day. I went and looked at my Gmail calendar, which is what I look at every day. If you look at your Gmail calendar,
it says Indigenous Peoples
and
Day.
mine has both. It has one and the other. I mean, it has both of them. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't even notice that. Like, I never.
A lot of like calendars like that you buy like for like your desk calendars. Like I have one on my desk right now. It'll say Columbus Day, parentheses, Indigenous Peoples Day.
Really? I didn't even notice that. Yeah. And so it's to honor the history, culture, same thing, honor the history, the culture, and contributions of Native Americans.
Same concept, just different name.
And, you know, it's important because it's not about erasing the history. It's really about telling the full story, right?
Facts,
and for a long time, the narrative focused on Columbus as this brave explorer, which I get it, but history is complicated, and we have to acknowledge the impact of colonization on these people, and it's a part of understanding that complexity. So it talks about, you know, like, it brings the topic, which can be hot at times, and we all know this, around diversity when it comes to Columbus Day. And for Italian Americans, it remains a symbol of pride and identity because he was Italian and represented a cultural connection for them. So in some places, it's already being replaced as Columbus Day. Others, like cities like Los Angeles and states like South Dakota have officially made the switch. They don't even call it Columbus Day anymore. They
They call
just,
it Indigenous Peoples Day.
yeah, that's it. And so for others, the holidays become a time to reflect on both the positive and negative aspects of history. I'm all about progression and progress. And yes, we need to address what's happened but we also need to make things work and move forward. So whether you lean towards celebrating it as Columbus Day or Indigenous People Day, see, I was able to say it. What's important is recognizing the impact of the events on the different communities. It's about giving spaces for the voices. That's always been a part of the conversation. And for me, I know that diversity matters. I know that inclusion matters. I know all of those. And I think sometimes we get lost in the who's right and who's wrong when really 25 cents has a head and 25 cents has a quarter has a head and a quarter has a tail, and depending on which way it lands on the ground is what you call it. And but on the other side is a different, right? So that is the hot topic, and I know it's a hot topic with several groups of friends of mine, but we're able to have space to talk about it and understand it, because what you don't know, you don't know.
Exactly. Um, Very interesting topic. I personally honestly forgot it was a holiday because I still have to work.
Happy Monday.
I think someone said it. I think we had someone say it to us in the office last week, and we're like, "What? Like Monday's a holiday?" We're like, "No, we're still
Yeah, banks are
open.
closed, no
Post
post.
office is closed."
Yep, all of it. And I don't know about schools. I don't have kids in schools or grandkids in these.
I think it depends on districts. So some
Okay.
will close and some won't.
Okay.
Just like businesses, some will choose it as a federal holiday and some will not. But to close out today, I missed last week, but that's because or last episode, but that's because we had so much on the Red River Rivalry. But today in sports, keeping with my hockey, in 1979, NHL's greatest goal scorer, Wayne Gretzky, scores his first NHL goal.
In 1979, you weren't
Mm-hmm.
even born yet, girlfriend.
Nope. But first of all, Wayne Gretzky's an icon. He's amazing. I have his Funko Pops, which says enough about me. But he's also friends with Mark Messier. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. Who is still an icon in NHL broadcast today, and he's actually going to be among the on-air talent of the Amazon Prime special.
Oh,
The So it's going to be really interesting. To have him um, being the on-air talent for that. But yeah, so that is all for today. Um, if you like this podcast and want to continue to support us, like, comment, subscribe, rate us on Spotify and YouTube.
yeah, I'm actually getting some cool people lined up for our podcast, and I love it because it's girl power, and I am all about strengthening ties and bonds. So keep them coming, keep listening, keeping ideas and all of the things.
And so that is all for today. We will speak to you Friday. This is Mikayla.
This is Melina.
And remember, sports are for girls too.
Whoop, whoop.